I'll admit it, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant are arguably the greatest 1-2 punch since Ron Artest cold-cocked that dude back in Detroit. That being said, there's a bit of overrating that goes on, especially when a Warriors player is mentioned. I'll also admit that there's a bit of knee-jerk reaction whenever I talk about Golden State. Kinda like this. Classic knee-jerk reaction. Speaking of such, let's talk about the dislike button. I told myself I'd make a better effort to make my like to dislike ratio look nicer, and then I go ahead and make a video about overrated NBA players. What I'm trying to say is, I'll be talking about 5 overrated players in the NBA. If you can make it to the end of this video without being pissed or feeling like strangling me, I will be impressed. Once you've made it to the end and you're not pissed at my opinion, drop a comment below. I will respond guaranteed. I am back with another video, and I'd like to thank Doc Rivers for comparing DeAndre Jordan to Bill Russell. I already thought DeAndre was overrated, but that's just the cherry on top right there. Now, later in this video, I may or may not mention how overrated Jordan is. Spoiler alert, I am. But I'd like to start off the list with Draymond Green. I'll be real. Draymond is insanely important to this Warriors team. The Warriors are already a great team, but Draymond makes them a dangerously great team. You know exactly what I mean by dangerously. Jokes aside, it was a real narrative at some point in time that Draymond was more valuable to the Warrior team than even Steph Curry was. There's no need for fancy stats. The truth is simple. Draymond isn't nowhere near a good enough offensive player to be mentioned with the elite of the NBA. I mean, technically he is good on offense. Okay, I'll be serious. I've overused and beaten this joke to the ground. Kinda like Steven Adams after Draymond kicked. If we do pull up Draymond's stats, he averaged 10 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds. Oh man, he's actually close to triple-double territory. Lonzo fans are probably impressed as hell right now. You know, considering the fact that they crowned him the GOAT after putting up 11, 11, and 11. Yeah, insanely similar stat line to what we see with Draymond, and the percentages too. You see, the PPG is understandable. He's on a team with Steph Curry and JaVale McGee. They can take care of the big scoring games, but the fact that he puts up only 10 PPG on 41% shooting is ridiculous. That's glaring, especially because he's on the Warriors. The way their offense is set up, you can take any awful basketball player, throw him in the system, and his efficiency will skyrocket. Scoring 10 points on 40% is just horrible offensive output. Matching that with 30% from 3, and you just aren't an elite enough scorer to be mentioned in top 15 status around the NBA. Now, I might be acting a little dramatic with this one, but I'm fairly certain I've seen some people rank Draymond Green ahead of Kyrie Irving. Wow, that's fucking stupid. Although Draymond does definitely deserve some credit. He's the defensive player of the year, but most importantly, a playoff performer. From averaging a mediocre 10 PPG in the regular season, Draymond goes on to average a scorching 13 PPG in the postseason. And I think now would be a good time to say, when someone has an opinion and you disagree with it, something crazy happens after that. Enough talk though, just let me tell you, if someone has an opinion that you disagree with, what will happen next is nothing at all. Really, that was just a long, fancy way to remind people you might disagree with my thoughts on Draymond Green. It's fine. Explain why in the comment section. Don't get overly emotional though. Kinda like Draymond does when he tried to justify why exactly he kicks people in the children.
You know, Russell said I did it on purpose, but he's a part of the superstar group that started all this acting in the NBA. I didn't, you know, so I sold the call. You know, he called me that way, I sold the call.
I'll admit it, Draymond's lowbrow behavior might affect my opinion on him as a basketball player. Next up, we have Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a great comparison to Magic Johnson. Only difference is, the AIDS went to his jump shot instead of him. Anyways, first off, I'd just like to remind people that even Ben Simmons has an ongoing beef with Lavar Ball. Even Ben Simmons' sister has beef with Lavar Ball. Man, I'm not even joking at this point. Lavar has seriously managed to involve himself in just about every crack and crevice of the fucking organization. Although Lavar Ball should have an appreciation for Ben Simmons. because he's almost a carbon copy of his son. Yeah, what can Ben Simmons do on a basketball court other than pass? It's truly astounding. We've seen players allergic to defense. Never have I seen a player allergic to offense. I mean, we've seen flat out awful basketball players, but they were never shy to shoot. Ben Simmons has virtually no scoring ability, and he knows it. He will literally not attempt a jump shot. This is where even I must give Lonzo credit. He knows he's a bad shooter, but he still takes the shots at any given opportunity. Simmons just forces pass after pass after pass. It's actually insanely bad. I expect him to hit as many jump shots as games he has played. He hasn't played a single NBA game yet, not even one. This next clip is really interesting though. Damn, you should consider playing in the NBA with no shirt. Maybe then you'll hit an in-game jump shot. Shirtless and sweaty Ben Simmons participating in sports? You know what that means.
Boy, you should know that I've got you on my mind. At night, I think of you.
Okay, seriously speaking, I'd be impressed by this if just about 99% of NBA players couldn't do the exact same thing. The remaining 1% is DeAndre Jordan. I literally haven't seen him connect on a jump shot in my life. It's shocking actually. But like I said, Ben Simmons hasn't even played in a single NBA game and his bust potential is incredibly high. It would have been disastrous had the Sixers drafted Lonzo Ball. For real, Philadelphia games would just consist of Lonzo and Ben passing the ball back and forth to each other for 48 minutes. They'd also be down by 30 points. I mean, that's just tradition. But that being said, ironically, Ben Simmons also has high Rookie of the Year potential as well. I'm not sold on him. Bottom line, the NBA is exploding with popularity. Absolutely exploding. And that's because offense is being emphasized more than ever. You either follow that trend or get lost in the mix. Ben Simmons just hasn't shown much offensive skill at all. Oh, and trust me, I would have loved to use some stats here, but here's how statistics work. They're only recorded if you play. That's all I'm gonna say. From one player who can't shoot to another player who can't shoot, next up is DeAndre Jordan. Okay, so there's a saying that goes like, couldn't throw a rock in the ocean? Just think about it. It's basically a reference to whenever you have a bad shooting game. I suck at explanations, let Kevin Durant explain. Before we jump right into the video, for today, I partnered with Opinion Outpost. I've tried it before, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's basically a website where you can earn cash and gift cards. You have to fill out surveys on food and movies, etc. for big companies to help them out with your opinion. You can buy what you like afterwards. There will be a link in the description, and for that, there is cash and gift cards awarded. DeAndre, without Chris Paul, I am the most useless basketball player in the NBA. Jordan takes this saying to a whole new level. By the way, that's his actual middle name. Search it up. Anyways, basically imagine this. If we had a basketball in our hands and all the air and oxygen that surrounds us was the basketball hoop, DeAndre would still miss every fucking jump shot he takes. Think about that one for a while. Yeah, I love when younger kids see some player at the YMCA dunking like crazy and wonder why he's not in the NBA. Like, there's no other component to basketball outside of dunking. I explained to them that, hey, there's more to basketball than that. Well, it turns out I've been a total dumbass for the past 9 years since the day DeAndre got drafted. Because with him surviving in the NBA for that long, apparently all you do need to know is how to dunk. Aside from defense, that is relatively overrated. If you can name me one thing DeAndre offers on a basketball court, other than losing you the game simply by a virtue of low IQ, you deserve some sort of an award. Oh, and he seriously lost them the game here. Look at the score, last possession. Chris Paul misses the layup, the rebound goes directly to DJ, begging for him to win the game, and he just stands there. Anyways, I mean, do I really need to pull up the stats here? Why not? 12 points, 13 rebounds, and this might actually seem almost impressive because I literally just made DeAndre sound like the worst player to ever step foot on a court. But it's not impressive. Not at all. The 12 points should basically be added to Chris Paul's overall scoring average, bumping him up to 30 ppg. And the rebound totals are simply because he's always the tallest player on the court and doesn't have to share them with Blake, who's injured just about every other day. And now, I'd like to talk about the Bill Russell comparison Doc Rivers thought would be a good idea to make. You've literally compared a player who's in the top 50 echelon of NBA talent to a player who's arguably in the bottom 50 echelon.
I would kick your ass.
You giving your son substantial minutes on an NBA floor, even though he should have never got past college, is a good indicator of your talent awareness. But that being said, I didn't even think Lonzo would be a top 3 pick in the draft. I'm right there with you in terms of scouting talent. Next up, we got Andrew Wiggins. So a lot of people thought the Jimmy Butler trade to Minnesota was a good move because he's a great player, good leader. I mean, I agree with that. It's true. But the real reason it was a good trade is because maybe he can teach Andrew Wiggins how to play a fucking lick of defense. I'm talking like 1 percentile of defense. You see, when I call players overrated, that doesn't mean they're bad. That just means they're, well, overrated. Look, Andrew Wiggins was touted to be the next Kobe. I hallucinate often, but this I'm sure of. He was put all the way up in that class before even playing an NBA game, and to some, he's a borderline all-star. He's not even close. This is kind of the opposite of Ben Simmons, right? Simmons will literally not take a jump shot he has no confidence in making. That's why he takes so little. Wiggins will literally take every jump shot that has ever existed. He will somehow manage to go back into Kobe's career timeline and take some of his jumpers for him. To pull up stats, he averages 20 points per game and 2 assists for his career. If he passed the ball just a little more, just a tiny bit more, Minnesota would have been a better team. But more importantly, he'd average exactly 2.2 assists, allowing me to do what I do best.
Just wait till I come back. It's on!
But seriously, his scoring is impressive until you realize he's giving up the exact same, if not double, the amount of points on the other end, depending on who he's guarding. Also, it has a lot to do with him being able to just put up a lot of points on a bad team. And that's it. There's nothing else that's impressive about his game. For a rookie who was so highly rated and still is highly rated, that's just tragic. He has Kawhi Leonard potential, and that's the worst part. Looking at Curry's body type and frame, it's understandable why he's an average defender. Wiggins is the complete opposite. He has everything needed to be a great defender, but would make any random dude in a pickup game look like Kobe. And the Kawhi Leonard thing is true. He can be a player on that exact level. His defensive potential doesn't measure up, but his offense could be a level higher than Kawhi's. I mean, it's probably the most consistent part about his game though. He just said to himself, no matter who I play with, I am going to consistently average 2 assists a season. Seriously, jokes aside, unless you're a center, averaging 2 assists is just downright an embarrassment. And even centers in today's NBA average more assists because that's how offense has shifted. And Minnesota is a talented team. For a player of Andrew Wiggins' hype, 2 assists should fall into his lap by accident. Bad defense or not, assisting twice a night is horrific. And now we have Stephen Curry. Has there been any player more loved by ESPN? Scratch that. Has there been any family more loved by ESPN? I mean, I still don't understand why they show his mom so often. Oh. Okay then. No, seriously, I'm not even bullshitting here. A few years ago, ESPN literally ranked Steph Curry in the top 25. Not in the NBA, but of all time. Let me remind you, this ranking occurred while he had a grand total of 2 good NBA seasons, 1 MVP, and 1 championship that they probably don't win if Kyrie doesn't get injured, and he wasn't even the finals MVP. This ranking occurred before he had won the unanimous MVP, before he won another championship, which was a month ago, and ESPN hasn't updated their rankings, but it's safe to say by now they have their golden child in the top 10. ESPN isn't some crap organization that no one cares about. They're the worldwide leader in sports. Me claiming Curry to be overrated based off an ESPN ranking is legitimate. We've reached a point where even Warriors fans can't deny this, and I think now is a good time to say, That is why I tend to dislike Steph Curry. That is why you may think I hate him. After having done so little, yet being able to be ranked over all-time greats who have done so much, why exactly does he get that privilege? And for anyone who may disagree, allow me to explain it in moron. You see, ESPN has a rating system. They rated Curry as the 23rd greatest player ever. This rating is over the point of where his proper rating should be. This is what makes him an overrated basketball player. Alright, I hope you get it. I'm done sounding like an obnoxious prick. I just want to jump right into this Steph Curry versus Kyrie Irving comparison. So I want to hear it. Who do you take to build your team around and why? At this point, I'll even admit I might be unironically overrating Kyrie Irving, but I seriously think Golden State would win just as much if they were to replace Wardell with Drew. They're both so similar. Insane shooting, insane handles, both probably visit DisneyChannel.com in their spare time. That was supposed to be a joke, and it was a pretty bad one, but I think Kyrie actually does visit DisneyChannel.com. Now, I'd like to wrap everything up with Lonzo Ball. So I wanted to mention him in the video. Oh wait, I think I did, like 50 times. But I didn't include him in the list of players I think are overrated. Well, that's because I made a video last week detailing why Lonzo is the most overrated. And I stand by it. The only reason that may piss some people off is because he's a young rookie, and it's just a hard concept to grasp. You know, a dude who hasn't even played an NBA game yet, to be the most overrated player in the league? That's exactly my point though. He hasn't played a single NBA game, and he hasn't played a single NBA game, and you can't even deny he's the most hyped athlete right now. I'm not gonna throw his stats at you in detail, I already did, but he shot horrifically from the field, horrifically from three-point range, turned over the ball at an insane rate, and played inconsistent defense. A lot of people think my opinion on Lonzo should change after Summer League, because once you get a triple-double, no matter how bad the shooting or defense or ball control, you're a saint. Well, his Summer League performance solidified what I believed in. Not a good offensive player, and not a good defensive player. Also, I would have loved to talk about Lavar some more because his retarded statements are here to stay for the next 20 years. And if LaMelo makes it to the NBA, make that 40 years.